On March 3rd, Doomworld user Veg posted on the forums he had finished a tribute map that he had made for Doom 2 called myhouse.wad.
Last August I lost a good childhood friend of mine, and took it pretty hard. When I was visiting my hometown for his funeral, I connected with his parents, who shared with me some of his old belongings. Among them was a copy of an old map of his, backed up on a 3.5-inch floppy from high school. Thomas and I were into amateur Doom mapping in the early 2000s, but I had never seen this map of his prior to uncovering it on one of the floppy disks. As a way of paying tribute to him and all the great memories we had together, I took the plunge and installed Doom Builder in order to polish up his map and add a few modern amenities just for convenience sake.
Described with a 10-minute runtime, myhouse.wad, WAD being the file format for Doom maps and mods, was ready to download for anyone to play for themselves.
Making maps of your house was all the rage back in the day, but I feel like this is a pretty adorable and detailed tribute to my friend, and a great way to share something of him with the community we loved. Miss you, Tom.
If you're at all into Doom, and its extensive modding scene, then I highly recommend playing this map for yourself, completely blind. I'll put a link to the Doom World post in the description. It requires GZDoom, an enhanced open source port of Doom, to run. Simply click on the link, ignore everything else in the Google Drive but the files folder, and download myhouse.pk3. .pk3, not .wad. See, if you hit that download link in the first week of this post appearing, you would immediately get the PK3 file instead of the WAD that was stated in the title of the post. This whole drive of files also appeared later. PK3 is another format used by Doom modders that functions like a WAD, but it's essentially a zip folder, offering the benefits of a more organised file structure and also better compression. Curious then that this PK3 file is 66 megabytes. For reference, this is larger than Doom 1 and 2's original file size combined 4 times over. This was all the knowledge I had as I downloaded the file and fired it up for myself. I'll be taking you through this map through several numbered expeditions, each one chronicling what I saw as I attempted to journey through this innocent map. That's cute. So I started this journey, picking ultraviolence difficulty because, frankly, I have an ego. The first thing I notice is a discomfortingly long load time. That's not normal. But we're here. Classic Doom 2 opening song Running from Evil playing in the background. National anthem of Doom wads everywhere. The house is rendered adorably, big wooden walls and windows dotted around, featuring a spacious yard, a front porch area, and a large garage which leads into the house itself. The house is populated by demons, but this is Doom, we can handle that. The main hallway leads to a living room, with a TV, and a tiny PlayStation 1 bringing the Doom Cute. Doom Cute being a community term for real-life objects and spaces recreated in the Doom engine. You'll see more in the attached kitchen, with all its amenities, and to the side are various rooms. 2 bedrooms, one containing an extra storage closet, and another with an ensuite bathroom, where you'll find the yellow keycard. Talk about a monster closet. Also upstairs is a regular bathroom, and a washing or utility room, complete with a red key door. Better find the key then. Moving downstairs takes us to more demons inside a games room. But to interrupt this tour for a second, you may have noticed we did something here. This room is underneath the room upstairs. If you don't know what I mean, that might sound like nothing, but that's an impossible thing in Doom. Doom's engine takes two-dimensional map data and makes a 3D space around it. I'm more or less simplifying here, but that means you can't have a room on top of another room in the engine. A separate story, whether upstairs or downstairs, is always in a separate space to the original floor, splintering off to another part of the building. Now, I did say this was GZ Doom, but GZ Doom alone does not remove this limitation. It updates the technology to benefit from newer hardware, and provides enhancements suited for more modern gaming sensibilities, but it more or less still has to obey the laws of Doom's reality. GZ Doom does open the possibility to some tricks to make this feat appear possible, ones not uncommon in Doom modding and games similar to Doom, but we should probably move on already. It seems strange to talk about such a detail at such length, but if you're familiar with Doom, it's just something you might notice that'll make you pause for a moment. The innocuous map recreating a house suddenly shows serious skill with its tools, yet it does it so casually as you may not even notice. Carrying on downstairs, we have more demons, holding the fort in a closet, a boiler room, which leads to the garage, an office with some attached storage, another bedroom, complete with another closet, and lastly, another bathroom, locked with a yellow door for which we already have the key. I like the detail of putting the guy inside the shower. You get the red key card here, and even some health in a cupboard if you need it. Equipment is actually pretty scarce on this map, and playing on ultraviolence offers some challenge, hence why you can see me saving ammo by punching pinkies. You might rush upstairs to the red door now, or you might look outside and notice something. There's a soul sphere. Instant 100 health boost just sitting on that thing out there. I didn't see that earlier. Did it spawn in while I was in here? You go back upstairs, grab the blue keycard from the utility room door, which seemingly should be for the front gate, which leads to the level exit. But while I could leave, I should probably grab that soul sphere first. It should be right over here. It was definitely on top of this bin or vent thing here when I looked from that window over there. Wait, why can I see monsters inside? All around inside. What's going on? Wait, that's not right. The music just reset. That wasn't me, that was the game. The level seems the same, now repopulated, but is it really? I don't think that it is. The keys I'm picking up are now skull keys, and now there are chain gunners in the level. There weren't any here before. Does net me their gun though, so that's nice. I progressed through the level, noticing differences such as seemingly functional mirrors and different item placements. You might think to just leave already, finish the level, but no. You now need the blue skull key to exit. But then the cupboard to get the blue key is now a stairway to an attic. I didn't even know there was an attic to this house. But that's fine. With the blue key acquired, there's nothing else to stop me from exiting. The doors are gone. I'm not locked inside, I am trapped inside. This closet too has appeared, I think. It seemingly goes nowhere. I can't help but notice also the classic Doom 2 Running from Evil song. Does it sound wrong somehow? Okay, maybe if I look around there's some other way outside? What? This can't exist. Not just in Doom's reality, but reality's reality. The corridor takes me to some new room, never seen before, featuring a fireplace and strange different decor, and a can of Pepsi that I pick up. I want pop? But no way out. So I leave. The doors still aren't there. I turn back and this space like some negative version of the house. The only object of note is a milkshake. Yeah, still nothing to help me though. I come back to the house and the first door is now gone, but also when I go to the front door, or where it used to be, I hear a noise now. Was this always behind here? I push the bookcase aside and find an odd room hidden away back here. Are those cat litter trays? Anyway, I guess I'll press the breaker. Monsters. But not the monsters that we know. Flood the dark, smoky house. All corners, all transformed and looking like nothing what you've seen. Clearing downstairs of all terrors. You might try to go upstairs where all the people are screaming. The house is a wreck. More creatures haunt the upstairs, but it's clear that this fire has been and gone. Amidst fighting underneath an angry sky, small objects litter the upstairs that you collect. A diary of some kind, a burned out picture frame, and an old teddy bear. We're still not free though. We can't even go back to the attic. But how was there an attic anyway? How can we escape? There are no doors. I try every wall, hoping that they give way and fall down to let you out. Press the map button and realize there is no map. We are nowhere. We can also spy the map details in the corner. That's a lot of monsters, and just one secret. None of this counts as a secret then. You might venture back downstairs. Things look different. Everything is concrete now. In fact, outside looks grey. Monochrome for some reason. You go into the boiler room perhaps. Wasn't there a door here that led to the garage? It's at this point in my journey, I begin to feel somewhat weak. It's not just the layers and layers of concrete, the rooms on rooms that surround all sides, but as I explore around, I can't help but notice that the layout of these stone halls resemble the layout of the house. Sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller. Except in here, there's at least no... There's a good dog in here too, who doesn't attack you. He does bark excitedly when he comes up to you, but he just sits down beside you. Because he's a good dog. He didn't startle me the first time he did this. He didn't. He's a good dog. This isn't how I found out that the bad dog dies if the good dog dies. I didn't find out at all that struggling through and killing the bad dog will kill the good dog as well either. None of these things happened. None of these things had to happen. The area is a maze of one-way doors and illogical geometry. I find a plasma gun at one point, which is appreciated, though I'm still almost at a loss navigating this place. I feel curiosity overtake me, and I throw myself into the abyss between buildings and hit the bottom. Dead silence passes as I explore the staircase. A locked door in a recessed passageway. A mirror to the same staircase. And then sky. I can even walk on it. There are walls here, but I can walk on it. Nowhere to go, though. So I try another door. We return, but there's still nowhere to go here. The only thing we can do is go back downstairs and enter the concrete jungle again. I spend a long time here, working out precarious ledges and head-hurting concepts of physical space. Eventually, after passing through hallways that don't make sense, and falling so many times down into holes, I find something new. I guess there's nowhere to go but up. I don't even know what I can say anymore. I check the gate information, and I would like to go home, yes. It says cancelled, sorta, but the gate's right here, so let's just get on board. So what do I... Oh no. Oh no. I fight through the plane, reaching the end and... Okay, I guess. This isn't the same as before. The house is now seemingly abandoned, and plants have started to take over the structure. The whole place is empty wherever you look. It's sad. After all this, I feel this strange hollowness underneath me, even amidst all that's happened here. The doors are back, and I'm almost hesitant to step through, but I guess we've earned this. I finally exit the level. Don't worry about that low kill percentage. If we move on, we come into Underhalls, Doom 2's second mission. This isn't part of the mod, it's just level 2. Same as it ever was. They did say it was just the one map. What a fun little come down it is to play this after all that. And you should play it. You should play through all of Underhalls. Get that super shotgun and have yourself a time. Play it through to the end. Because when you're done with that level, expecting to go through to map 3, the Gauntlet, or Gantlet. Congratulations on beating Ending 1. You haven't even seen half of what's here. We need some preparation before going forward into the next section, and it's probably best we start with looking at that Google Drive. All the files are credited to one Steve Nelson, and there are a lot of extra things inside here for you to look at, including a journal text document, prominently displayed for anyone to read. This document expands the thoughts of the author from that initial Doomworld post, talking about how sad they were that their friend passed away, and talks about him inheriting his friend's map after the funeral from his parents. But glaringly, on this page is something else. A single word highlighted in blue. House. I've seen this before. House of Leaves is a book by Mark Z. Danielewski, released in the year 2000. The book has no small amount of reputation for its winding rabbit hole narrative and bizarre involved structure. And this map, this Doom mod, takes clear inspiration from House of Leaves. You never thought I'd ever say a sentence like that? I should point out I am not an expert with this book. It's been deconstructed, analysed, and theory crafted about for decades, and I only finished reading it this year. In fact, 2 days before this map was posted. Is this coincidence or providence? Some of you familiar with the book may have noticed connections already, most prominently with the sign at the end being a very cheeky and overt nod to the story. Navidson Realty. Navidson is the name of the family in the book's main story, the Navidson Record, which chronicles the journey photojournalist Will Navidson and his family takes when they begin to notice the space inside their house is shifting. First by being a 1/4 of an inch bigger on the inside than it is the out, but then forming new doors and rooms inside the structure, including a jet black corridor that impossibly stretches forth for miles into space that doesn't exist. I hope those not familiar can see the connection here. If you're thinking about liminal spaces being an inspiration too, yeah, keep that in mind, we'll talk about that later. It's worth noting too that the Navidson Record is actually a story within the story of House of Leaves. The Navidson Record is originally written by an eccentric old recluse named Zampano, who passes away, and the story is discovered by a man named Johnny Truant. Johnny reconstructs the writing, but slowly, bit by bit, he begins to become undone, feeling his grip on reality slip. This journal takes most inspiration from those sections of the book, though with thankfully less hallucinatory sexual experiences. Don't ask. But there's one other quirk of the book's formatting. Each utterance of the word house is highlighted in blue. It isn't really talked about in the book, or really ever explained, but it creates an uncanny emphasis on even the most innocuous of sentences, something that is emulated here in the Google Drive document, which we should probably return to. This is a video about a Doom mod after all, not a book review. The book will return. I hope you're ready for that. The journal doesn't get as crazy as House of Leaves in content or structure, but what's written here does tie into my house. To briefly summarise, Steve works for months on this map, from August 2022 until March 2023, when it's launched. There's even a note about the wrong file being uploaded, seemingly against his will. He begins an obsession with making this map that begins to sap at his energy and his sanity. He forgets making sections, loses sleep, spends more and more time in his days and nights map building. He also describes in detail some vivid dreams that he has, and the first in this struck-through paragraph might seem familiar.
I had the strangest dream last night about my childhood friend who recently passed away. We were playing Legos in his basement like we used to do as kids, and when I turned around, he was gone. The house was empty and silent. Everything was so quiet and still. I started to smell smoke and hear screams from upstairs. I ran upstairs, and when I got there, the house was just a burned frame. Smoke was getting thicker and thicker, and I could barely see or breathe. I searched for my friend, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I couldn't see anything. I started to panic and then found myself outside in the fog. I was alone, but I could hear low growls in the distance.
We could spend ages analysing the words in here, but there's much more to be done, so I'll be referring to elements from the journal and other features from the Google Drive as and when they are relevant. There is one last thing to look at here though, a newspaper clipping from the Photos folder of an obituary for Tom. It gives us a small look into his life and who he was before he died in his home at age 35. He seemingly lived well, reconnected with his high school crush, and spoiled his pet cat. I don't know, I just thought this should be mentioned before we enter. Expedition 2 actually consists of an amalgamation of multiple trips, jumping back and forth through many save files with one major aim connecting all of them. Explore and experiment as much as I can without looking anything up whatsoever. Everything we find, we work out for ourselves. Including this, first of all. Didn't realise that was there the first time. If you try to get it after the first house, there's only a strange silhouette of where it should be, which is how I became aware of it. This would have helped slightly in the earlier areas where ammo is scarce, though now it's perhaps less necessary because of the run through underhalls. Yes, this is still the start of my house, even after running through underhalls, getting all the health, armor, and ammunition that you can bring back. But most important is the super shotgun. This feels like intended progression, like you're meant to do at least one loop of underhalls and back to here before finding all the game's tricks. The extra firepower is needed. You can actually go to underhalls straight away, skipping the second house entirely by just leaving with the blue keycard. Certainly an efficient way forward. There isn't anything new about the first trip around the house, though I will ask how many of you noticed that there weren't any windows for the downstairs area when looking on the outside of the house, but then they appear when you're on the inside, here and ready to taunt you with that soul sphere you can't get. Then of course they're back to mess with you some more when you try to go get it, and walk all the way around to enter the second house, where the business all begins. Let me ask you something else. Did you notice anything change with you the first time around? Not the house, with you. Let me replay you the second house in Expedition 1. Would it help if I give you a comparison between the first house? The weapons have changed. They're still the same, but they've changed from original Doom's weapons to higher fidelity versions from Smooth Doom, adding more animation frames than one originally had in 1994. This happens once you enter the second house, and once the change happens, it sticks forever, hence why it was still smooth on this run after underhauls. It's a little thing that you might not have noticed your first time around, but it adds to the uncanniness. It's wrong. You feel it, but maybe you don't quite realize it. A recurring pattern in this mod. Anyway, clear the new house the same as normal, grab the blue key, and now the doors are gone. Enter the impossible hallway, grab the Pepsi, and then enter the other room to get the milkshake. Return to the house. This is now the central anchor point. Everything in this game will come up from here. We won't be triggering the house fire anytime soon. After all, the game tells you not to. I think this is hinted at by the house fire dream in the journal being crossed out, but there are more blatant suggestions. Using God mode, or IDDQD, you'll trigger a message from the game. Ignore that first message for now. Turning it off, specifically, tells you there is no good outcome from a house fire. Going through that burned out house will lock you onto the ending that we received. However, enabling God mode gives a different message. My reflection winked at me. I covered the mirror in the attic just to be safe. Interesting. Sure enough, in the attic, that may or may not exist, is a covered mirror. We can't see ourselves, but we can see something else. A blue bauble of some kind? It's not here next to me and I can't seem to get to it. I wonder what I meant to do.
I was in the bathroom, standing in front of the mirror, shaving. As I looked at my reflection, I noticed it winked at me. It was so strange and unexpected that I threw my razor at the mirror. I was so scared that I expected the mirror to shatter, but instead it stayed intact. I was even more surprised when I put my hand through the mirror and I could feel the glass. I kept going and I was able to climb all the way into the mirror. It was like a tunnel. When I looked back, I saw myself in the mirror, and this time, I winked back. I still can't believe it was just a dream.
There's many mirrors in this house to check. Oh, sorry. The game plays a Discord notification sound about 10 minutes into the map. I didn't want to call attention to it before, but yeah, just another way the map kinda messes with you. I don't have notification sounds turned on, so can't get me. After checking all the other mirrors, in this one bathroom, I can climb up on the sink, and then... Welcome to the new house. Or maybe the... Swat? This whole place is mirrored, and it's populated by demons again, whose sounds are all reversed. A change so disconcerting that you might fail to notice that while everything is ostensibly the same as the, regular world, in this reality, the front doors have returned. You can just leave right now. However, doing so will take you to underhalls that... Wait. No, that's not... Even here? The whole level, completely flipped and populated by mirrored monsters. Beating the mirrored underhalls takes you back to the house in the mirrored world, complete with a new song rendition too. But I'd say it's wise not to do this at all, as you lose all your weapons going into the mirrored underhalls. There's a few other reasons for progression's sake. We should do what we came here for though. Head up to the attic, where we saw that bauble. Ah, Christmas makes me happy too. It's weird seeing through the looking glass and into the normal world. More normal, anyway. Hey, is that a baby's crib over there? I don't recall there being one in the real world. Can I take that bottle? Oh, that's... dark. Well, don't really know what else I'm doing, so can I go back? Yes, I can. Huh. Huh. Huh? This children's daycare is uncomfortable to be around? The fact the happy, cheery place is a little run down, and outside is dark and foggy. There's a car parked here too. Is there someone else here? I thought I saw someone in the fog at one point, but I look at my footage now and there's no one here. This is all starting to get to me, I think. Maybe most of all because I recognize the layout of this place as being the same as the house. The downstairs area, to be precise. There's a berserk pack on the shelf above me, which I can't reach. But if you go into one of the closets and punch the cracked wall hidden behind the door, you can get it. This might seem like a fun puzzle, but I don't know. Something about how you do all this, happening here in a children's daycare, just plays on my nerves. You can find a baseball and a box of crayons, but that seems to be everything. There's no way to pick up this clown costume in the cupboard anyway. I walk back, but there doesn't appear to be a way out from where I came. There's nothing here. Okay, so I guess I'll turn around and go back. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. He has so much health! Oh my god! He'll take a swing at you if he gets too close, so yeah, he deserves the buckshot. He drops the key to the gate, and there doesn't appear to be anything else here, so we'll leave. Okay. You know, it's interesting. In the photos folder of the Google Drive, you can see pictures of what the real house looked like. Yeah, remember this was based off the friend's house? In this particular photo, you can see the kitchen in the living room. This one shows the games room and the secret doorway that was hidden behind the bookcase. We won't be going there again. There's also one that seemingly shows off the impossible hallway, which makes me feel uneasy. I move through the house experimenting, by which I mean hitting U's on anything that I think looks funny, and end up accidentally turning on the kitchen sink. So I begin filling up all the other sinks in the house without any clear idea why I'm doing this, until I come to the ensuite bathroom, where I realise I've been filling up this bathtub with every sink filled. Somehow. I guess I want the duck? After hunting all sinks down, including one inside the negative house, I fill the bathtub up enough to get the duck. That's all. I got the duck. Except, when I was showing my friends this map on a Discord stream, this happened when I went to get the duck. I'm feeling unwell again. It's actually difficult to move around the flooded house. Your movement, usually so snappy and responsive in Doom, has turned difficult and sluggish as you fight against the water. Everywhere is flooded, upstairs, downstairs, all rooms. But it doesn't look like there's anything in here. You might be familiar with the kind of liminal spaces this game has been drawing from. This place in particular being reminiscent of Jared Pike's swimming pool pieces. There have been others around too. I don't want to point out all inspirations as not to bog down these explorations in extraneous information. If you're not familiar, Super Eyepatch Wolf did a great video on liminal spaces, which is a great place to learn more. He talks about House of Leaves in it too. Check it out. Back inside the bath house, you might be forgiven for thinking you're meant to jump off the side or down this hole. Doing so has us fall into the sky room of the endless staircase we saw earlier. But this isn't where we want to be. What we want is inside the bathhouse, which, by the way, resembles the house in its layout once again. Off to the side is a locker room that has a corridor that will take you to an impossible maze of endless showers, bathrooms, stalls, rooms upon rooms forever in nonsensical notions of 3D space. But there is a way forward to what we need. It actually involves double backing on yourself at one point in the maze to reach somewhere new. There is another way if you approach the starting locker room from a certain angle and direction, but I only found that out later. We come out to a great swimming pool. I don't think I want to go in there yet. Obviously the fish attacks you if you go in, and we want to go in because there's another item there. So you might think to be clever and just shoot the fish bloody from the surface. Not a bad plan, but you might want to be quick when grabbing that item, which is a D20 by the way. You can kill these, but it will take a lot of ammo to do so, and I recommend saving it. So take the dice, but don't leave the pool, because one of the tiles is actually a passage down into another maze. You have to be quick to solve this because you will eventually drown. There's a grate you can go up to for air, but there's also a second one, which is a trick and meant to kill you. And, sorry, can we take a step back and see that we have swimming and oxygen mechanics in Doom? In Doom! This is absolutely crazy, but only half as crazy as this. I guess we found the garage. These monsters are pinging you from across the map, and the huge distance makes me now see that their projectiles have some annoying homing to them. I want to cross this bridge, but if you fall off, you go back to the Sky Room, and we don't want to go back to the Sky Room. But once you're halfway across, you want to make it across though, because once you manage to clear it, welcome back. This is actually pretty important. We managed to get to the maze again without starting the house fire. That's good. That feels like progress. There's several items in here to collect as well, as we try sneaking around the bad dog. The first being a pumpkin. Pumpkin, Rick? No. And after doing some interesting maneuvering, we can drop down and uncover a new door to find a doghouse and a frisbee. There's one last item in here to get, which involves strafe running off the side to reach the top of this railing roof thing. This unavoidably alerts the Cerberus, but at least you can get this tuna. Kitties love tuna. Tom always spoiled his kitten rotten. You know, there's a sketchbook amidst that Google Drive where you can see some sketches that the journal called disturbing. There's only 3 of them in here, one being the house, which, yes, I do find disturbing now. The other being of the bad dog. Does he have more heads than usual? The final drawing, though, is just of a blue key, which I don't want to say is scary, but I can't help but keep staring at it. Longer and longer, like I'm beginning to see some kind of hidden meaning behind the drawing. That's not the house, is it? Anyway, we move through this as normal and come out to the airport. There's not a whole lot to see here. You can set off the metal detector and move through all of this to get a little health bonus. Another car out the front as well. There's also a shop where using one of the t-shirts will give you 200% armor, which is very nice. Nothing really in the upstairs or with this baggage conveyor. I'm too big to fit inside. 2 bathrooms, and the men's seems fine. Cleanest gents I've ever seen in my life, frankly. There's a pill bottle outside the ladies' room, though. Refill needed? Okay, well, I guess that was one of the items we needed. Is there anything else here? I said we needed the firepower. Now we get a full bottle of pills. Feeling fine. And if we go back to the bathroom, it's feeling fine too. Oh, by the way, this airport, it's the house again. Of course, it's the house again. Ah, my head hurts. The airplane is the same though. There's nothing else on here. Not even in its bathrooms. So, we're jumping off. The house is different again. Rather than burned out and abandoned, it now seems like whoever lived here has moved out. It's empty, still a little sad, but it's not dilapidated anymore. Which, again, feels like progress? However, once we step out, the end plays out the same as before. Navidson Realty and straight on to Underhalls, asking us to go around and try again. This is a compilation of everything I was able to discover on my own. But we're going back in, and this time, we're taking some help. There's only so much I feel I can do by just wandering around by myself. So for the next expedition, I went and got some online help. I didn't want to just follow a walkthrough on what to do here, as it felt against the spirit of exploring this map. So I avoided the Doom wiki page for my house, which has just that, and instead I went back to that original post on Doomworld. I followed the whole thread of discovery that all the users on Doomworld undertook together when they were finding out about this map for themselves, when the reality of this innocent-sounding level finally hit. I chronologically followed tips they left to one another, as well as just direct guidance on what to do with the game's more esoteric sequences. Really, I just want to spend a moment thanking the original pioneers inside that thread who went in and spent hours exploring all facets inside this map, testing, experimenting, and finding all kinds of secrets and sharing them with everyone. Also, the map was released on March 3rd, but it wasn't until March 7th on the forums that people really started exploring this map. Like, you could maybe forgive someone for thinking that Expedition 1 was the whole level. Thank you to those users who kept the fire burning and didn't let this get buried and forgotten. And a special thank you to the one person who helped me find out I had my tone map settings wrong in GZ Doom. They really helped out. If not for them, we wouldn't get to see the best thing in this section. This expedition is not the last, but it is where we learn our purpose. Our objective in this map is indeed to be collecting these items, but not the items in the burned out house. They don't count. They don't get added to the picture. This picture tracks what items we have gotten, for a total of 8 in all. You can see it at the end of the last expedition, and how close I was. But how close was I really? Because in the mirror world is a separate picture, with a different set of items, for a grand total of 16 items to collect across the entire map. Annoyingly, I was only missing 2 that prevented me from progressing in all my attempts. One being a wedding ring that you can find in the floating garage section, where you step onto the one black tile that spawns those weird Kako demon things, and then make a run of faith over to this floating platform to get a wedding ring. Then you have to run back and into the maze without falling off, and it's probably where I ended up reloading the most out of anywhere in this level. The other item I missed was a wine bottle in the Mirror World kitchen. That's it. I just never saw it there. Okay then. With all the items and a clear path to progress through, we have everything we need to finish this map. But we're not going to do that until the final expedition, because there's still quite a few hidden places left to see. For one, I can't believe I never thought to use NoClip until I saw that Doomworld thread. That's an ominous and yet familiar message. Still, who cares? Look, I escaped the house! I did it early! I can go anywhere! I can even go straight to the exit! Fuck. Yeah, if you try to go out of bounds anywhere on this map, you end up in the back rooms. Literally. And it is the most head-hurting maze in the whole game. Which I guess you might expect. Worse is that while you're trying to work out how to orient yourself, you'll discover you're not alone. There is a few other things here amidst the beige walls. You might find a computer, or a poster hanging on a wall. But really, you want the exit. An exit I could only find with specific instructions from the Doomworld thread, because good God, navigating this place is a nightmare. Endless corridors that repeat on themselves forever, especially disheartening when you're being followed by an indestructible monster. Through the exit, you get taken back to the endless stairway from the recessed locked door, and it's back to the house for you. Bizarrely, there is also a backrooms to the mirrored underhalls. Not to the regular one, just the mirrored one. It might be the same, but it might be different. I couldn't seem to find the exit to this one. Regardless, the backrooms is meant to be a diversion anyway. There's nothing here for you. It's just a means to punish those looking to break the game. But it does give me the opportunity to show you something else. What if we were to die? And what if, for some reason, I did not hit reload immediately? What would happen then? This is the house again. This isn't. You can do this a single time to revive where you stand. I don't know if this serves some kind of purpose. The pill bottle being there makes me wonder, but I have no clue myself. There are some smaller secrets too, but to see them we're going to have to go back to the Brutalist maze. Fortunately, there is this. You can only take this once. It won't open a second time, but it's very useful for our run. Speaking of running, the outside walls are closer on some sides of the maze compared to others. So what would happen if I were to run off here? Interesting. But there's another room in the bigger version of the house we can run to as well. A megasphere for max health and armor. That's cool, right? Nifty little secret. You have to fall down the endless staircase from here though, which is where the tricky business of using entrances to this maze needs to be considered. Remember, you can only use the secret entrance and the floating garage entrance once each. Think carefully about what you're doing now. Nothing good can come from a house fire. But these aren't the only rooms you can go into here. There's this much more difficult jump you can take. It'll take you a few tries, but... This, by itself, is weird. What's weirder is going back around to the house and finding all the TVs are now switched on. Even in the mirror world. Even in the hospital. I have no idea if this means or does something, but it makes me feel very small for some reason. Okay, I've saved the best thing till last. I hope you're ready. The book has returned. Silence overwhelms you as you step into the impossible space of concrete and darkness. After the near-constant noise and drones of exploring this house, this utter vacuum fills my stomach with dread. It's time for one last maze. A very dark maze. I've done what I can for it in post to make sure it's visible on the screens I've tested, but if you still can't see, because you're watching on your phone in bed with auto brightness, or if there's sunlight shining on your display, I'm sorry. Maybe just skip to the next chapter. I now present to you, with no commentary and only occasional editing for time, the Navidson Hallway. Did it? To my knowledge, there's nothing to find in there. It's just a horribly tense diversion to take here in this house. This part of the game drives my nerves on end. Even though you could argue nothing happened to me, it manages to inspire anxiety using only its strange architecture and occasional little prodding insinuations that I'm not alone in this house. I can only hope that I was able to convey that through this chapter. It borrows liberally from House of Leaves, most of the time, but to do this, to execute this labyrinth here in Doom, is nothing short of genius, I think. Now, I wish to point out that even after all we've done, all we've seen here, we still haven't managed to discover that final secret on the map screen. So then, without any further delay, it's time to finish my house. We're going to go through everything in order, one at a time, with a few extra hidden tricks that'll help me get through this nightmare. I'm also going to be slowing down a bit, referring to the journal as we go, as I think there is something of a narrative that can be constructed from this mod that we've only been brushing past so far, as vague and fragmentary as it may be. This house may be bigger on the inside, but it feels far from empty. So, starting from when the doors disappear, we get the Pepsi and then the milkshake. There's nothing relevant about them in any of the materials, not even a Pepsi in shot of these pictures, but I noticed the deco in the Pepsi room is older, like 80s or 70s. The Pepsi can itself is an older version too, so I wonder if this is a recreation of a childhood memory. I want pop, like what you'd maybe say if your mother asked you what you wanted to drink. The milkshake room might also be a memory, rather than a horrible negative dimension. We can see in the pictures folder that the room did appear to get some renovations, so maybe an intense colour palette is simply what it had before. Or maybe it's depicted in monochrome because something happened that necessitated the renovations that make this an unpleasant memory. The kid needs a milkshake. It's probably not said by a child, and it reads as a cold way that two parents might talk about their kid. The context for all of this is just my own speculation, but let's keep going and see where things end up. Uncover the mirror in the attic to be able to access the mirror world, from the bathroom whose dream we've already covered. I kill everything in the mirror world. I don't think I have to, but I decide to just in case. In the mirror world, grab the wine bottle. Drunk buddy. Yeah, Tom and Steve did appear to be in that photo. Also grab the bauble, which is referenced in this half-asleep babbling entry of the journal, but I'd say more important is the baby bottle from the crib.
I lay in bed, too afraid to move, when I heard a faint ghostly cry coming from the attic. I had heard this sound before, but this time it was louder and more insistent. I got out of bed and slowly crept up the stairs to the attic, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. As I entered the attic, I noticed a trail of children's toys leading out the window. I followed the trail, feeling a strange compulsion to do so. The trail led me to an abandoned daycare center near the edge of town. I stayed back, afraid to enter, but I couldn't help but feel drawn to the place. I knew something was waiting for me inside, something dark and dangerous. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. The place was dark and silent, but as I walked around I noticed the walls were covered in eerie drawings of children and babies. Then I heard the sound of a baby crying again, coming from the back of the room. I followed the sound, and when I reached the back of the room, I saw a crib with a stillborn baby inside. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized what was haunting me. The stillborn baby was the one in the attic. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding in my ears. I knew I had to leave this place, and I quickly ran out the door, never looking back.
Get the baseball and the crayons. I don't know if there's any deeper mystery to them, and their associated text feels like nonsense. Adult colouring books and autographed by J.J. Hardy. J.J. Hardy is a real player, but it doesn't help us date or place this daycare, as he's been playing for about 20 years, and has been part of 3 different teams across the USA. I mean, he was drafted in 2001, and that's also the year Shrek came out. But that's too YouTube Theory channel for me. You might also have to deal with the blackboard that says 1984 on it. Either someone has their dates wrong, or this daycare has high expectations for these kids' reading ability. Pick up Snugs and blast away Shrek. No, I don't have any plot reason for why Shrek is here. Go back to the house, and it's time to turn on the sinks for the water house.
I was dreaming about taking a nice hot bath. I felt myself sinking deeper and deeper into the warm water until I couldn't breathe. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my lips. I was drowning in my own bathtub. Suddenly I felt a jolt, as if I had been pulled out of the water. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a subterranean cave, illuminated by a faint, eerie blue light. I could feel a chill in the air, and I could hear the echoing of demons in the distance. I tried to scream, but my voice was muffled by the darkness of the cave. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized I was being hunted by something unseen. I heard the scraping of claws on the rocks and felt the ground shaking beneath me.
I guess the bathhouse is meant to be the cave? I don't know. Solve the maze to come to the swimming pool with the bloodfish, but not before taking this hidden backpack from this one specific locker in the hallway before. We will need the extra ammo capacity. Go boom fishing and get the D20. I don't know what significance this has, beyond Tom, Steve, or maybe both, maybe once played D&D. And judging by the text, it got pretty juvenile. And we make our way through to the floating garage, making numerous attempts to get the ring and leave through the exit. I could just take the secret entrance back to the maze, but I don't want to. On my winning attempt, I actually skipped over the line that spawns the enemies somehow. I reactivated it before leaving, out of pity. The wedding ring, though. There's no dream about a floating garage, nor about a specific wedding, but there is this Valentine's Day entry.
Happy Valentine's Day to the only person I ever loved. For a short time, you brought a little happiness to this painful existence called life. I hope we can be together again one day. In the meantime, I'll keep looking for that other someone who can be the ray of light in my life that you turned out to be.
Boy, Steve's had it rough through the years. Into the Brutalist maze now, where I have very little to add, honestly. I wonder if the bad dog appearing in the bigger version of the maze maybe represents a fear of dogs when Tom was a small child. Is that why he went to having a cat instead? Hard to say, but that's the best I've got for you. I've nothing more to add to the frisbee, the cat food, and that stupid pumpkin. By the way, the room where you get the plasma rifle only opens if you picked up the blue key in the first house. Something someone may have missed if they wanted that soul sphere. I also included this earlier, but if you look around, you might find this guy. You can't attack him, I don't know what his deal is, but the room he's around sort of reminds me of the back rooms, right? Is that the skin stealer? I unplugged the TV room again, hoping this would trigger something new and not seen before, but alas it did not. Dropping down into the abyss and through the staircase into the house again, we can actually see we have all the items in the normal world now, which does unlock where to go next. But we're still missing 2 from the Mirror World paintings, so let's square those away first. Go through the secret tunnel and into the airport. I also have little to add here, besides the undercurrent of psychosis that someone may be suffering from? Fun fact, the empty pill bottle is not an item you need to progress. Not from here or the hospital. It doesn't get added to the picture frame. Red herring then? Or a narrative device to connect these 2 locations? Once again, I don't know. Actually, one thing you can do here, if you position yourself just right in the bathroom so that the blood covers everywhere except the entrance. Amen to that. Okay, let's just clear up and board our plane already.
I was on an airplane, and I was the only passenger. I looked out the window to see the ground below, and noticed that the terrain was unfamiliar. I had no idea where I was or where I was going. Suddenly the plane started to shake violently, and I heard a loud noise coming from the engine. In the distance, I could see a huge storm cloud coming towards me. I tried to communicate with the pilot, but I couldn't hear him over the sound of the engine. The plane began to dive, and suddenly I felt a huge jolt. I looked out the window again and saw that the plane was heading for some kind of structure. I closed my eyes and felt the plane crash. I felt the impact and heard the screams and cries from the people around me. I then woke up, my heart pounding and my body drenched in sweat.
Congratulations, we've finally caught up. The house is now just the same as it ever was, showing we finally did it. Except that flower painting now isn't. What an interesting picture. And the doors are back, so you could leave. Which, at this point, would be silly. Why would we do that when we can take this rabbit hole as far as we can go? Before you ask, no, this doesn't open until you get all the items. Somewhere new, at long last. Nowhere to go but the road, I suppose. The long, winding road. What's that over there? This song, of course. And this crashed car seems to lead to an American gas station. Got a good feeling about this. This music too. Reminds me of a brawl I had once. Inside the store you can find the final item, an Atari 2600 controller. There's not much else here to see. A bus stop and a lit up sign. So the only thing we can do now is follow this trail of blood to this last room. Oh. Oh god. Please don't tell me that store was the house again. You know what, it's fine. Because now we have all the items. And now the Mirror World painting has something to show us as well. Very interesting. So we leave, and sure enough, the fence opens in the same, if mirrored, place, and in we go. It's a long road back to the station, and you could miss it, being the map is flipped around, and because the car isn't here anymore. There's a tiny torch instead. But it leads to the gas station all the same. Maybe not all the same. I try and poke around a bit, and there is a rocket launcher in the storeroom. Oh, very nice. Why am I being given a rocket launcher? There's no way past the tape into the rest of the store or into the house bathroom. So we'll go where we need to. Sure enough, standing out by the sign, we can see the smoke above the trees. And hidden between all of them is a little camp area. You can actually go here in the regular world, but there's nothing here. Meanwhile, we have some carving on the tree. S+A. What the? Get out of here, no! What the hell? I can't go back. Huh? Wait. What is that? Congratulations on achieving Ending 2. No, really, this is an ending. You might have some questions, but fortunately, there's another dream to tell you about.
February 26, 2023. I can no longer tell what elements of this map are my friends, which are mine, and what the map has created. I am no longer afraid that the map is creating itself. It needs me as much as I need it, which reminds me of a dream I had the other night. I'm not sleeping much, but I recall this one with surprising clarity. I was standing on a beach, staring out at the placid water, the ocean stretching out as far as the eye could see. Seagulls cawed overhead, and the gentle caress of water lapped the sand in front of me. I dipped my toes into the water. At least I tried. There was no water, no ocean. It was an illusion. I realized everything around me was fake. The trees, the birds, the sand. It was all a one-act play. And I was Willy Loman, a damned fool who believed in something greater. But there was no happiness to be found. I wandered the set only to find myself staring into oblivion. It was the end of time itself. No joy, no misery, no sadness, only emptiness. Men of faith tell us the afterlife is for eternity, but is it possible to keep your sanity for eternity? A day passes in the void, a month, a year, 2, 5, 10. Is this an eternity? 20 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. I've sat in this room for 1,000,000 years now, entertaining the same thoughts, pondering the same questions, and ruminated on every mistake in my life, anguishing over them for centuries. 1 billion years now, double that, now double it again. I'm still nowhere close to the end of eternity. I pray for death, but it never comes. Just me and my thoughts and my mistakes and my insecurities and my regrets and my loneliness. Somewhere in another dream, the version of myself that winked back is sitting on the real beach, happy and content, knowing that life is finite, there is no afterlife, and happiness is found in the small things around us that we can control. Happiness has to be fought for.
Time to fight for your happy ending. Once you lower the entrance to the fake beach, it's time to get running. Escape from the shadowy Archvile, who is basically unkillable. You can stun them pretty easily, but it's easier to just run and never stop. They will teleport and chase you, even into the Mirror House, where they'll start resurrecting the dead monsters, so we're going to have to flee to the regular world pronto, which is now repopulated too, and has Archviles as well, but fortunately normal ones that we can kill by carefully peeking in and out of sight of their attacks. I probably should have just BFG'd them, but I felt proud when I did it, until I saw outside. It's worse when you open the door. Before we leave, go back up to the attic and look into the mirror. The shadowy Archvile has taken the spot where the Christmas bauble used to be. How ominous. Getting out of the house is tricky. I like to do a lap around the house to get them infighting and thin their number a little. I also want to stock up slightly with these items, but not really fight them. Our battle isn't here. We need to hit the road again, which, by the way, has one last dream to mention.
I was driving along a road in the woods, when all of a sudden my car veered off the road and crashed into a tree. I woke up to find myself in the driver's seat, with an injured and bleeding leg. My head was spinning and I felt disoriented. I dragged myself out of the car and hobbled my way through the woods in hopes of finding help. My leg was in agony, and I felt like I was going to faint. Through the trees, I saw the lights from a lonely gas station. I was relieved to find it open, but then I realized there was nobody there. I had no idea where everybody had gone. As I was standing there, I heard some strange noises coming from the woods around me. I was too scared to investigate, so I just stood there, feeling scared and alone. Suddenly, I heard a car in the distance, and I limped towards it. Thank goodness. It was a taxi driver who was able to take me to the hospital. I eventually woke up in a cold sweat, not sure if I was relieved or disappointed that it was just a dream.
And with that, there's only one last fight left for us. The gas station is surrounded by monsters from all sides, and a spider mastermind sitting atop the courtyard roof. It's a tough fight, but happiness has to be fought for. hold on a second, guys. I just need a quick break. Oh, very nice. And here is the true ending. The one secret finally discovered to tell you that this is the end. This beach is real. Actual peace is here for you. And if the dog in the maze survives, then they join you on this beach as well. To cap everything off, the nightmare is finally over. You've completed my house, and can relax knowing there's nothing else left to see. Well, actually, what if you collected all the items, unlocking the secret passage in the yard, but then burned the house down anyway? What if you fought your way through the burned out house again, the brutalist maze, went through the airport that has no plane, but you still fall back down into the now destroyed house? What if you did all of that, left the house, and then opened the fence passage? This isn't an ending, but it is a little secret for you. My phone couldn't read this QR code, but fortunately, someone very kind and clever in the Doomworld forums transcribed the code into something readable, which takes you to a new hidden photo in that Google Drive. An obituary for Steve Nelson. Steve died on the exact same day that Tom died, August 3rd, 2022. What does this mean? Does it mean that Steven's spirit made this Doom map as his last connection to the outside world? Is this meant to be some metatextual statement on the death of the author? I don't have a sole definitive answer, and I'm not sure one really exists for me. But this does open up some interesting rabbit holes. Was it actually Steve who wrote the journal? Rereading the journal after discovering this, it suddenly struck me how rarely names are used, instead using my childhood friend, or just my friend, when referring to who I presumed to be Tom. It's only in February 2023 where Thomas is finally named, and positively identified as the person who started the map on the floppy disk, which I guess the forum post also confirmed. Steve isn't named anywhere in here, which might support the idea that he's the one writing it. At first though, I wondered if the vagueness of the journal meant there was a third person who wrote it. Who would that be? A, of course. The journal mentions the love of their life, and the obituary confirms Steve did indeed tie the knot at some point. The journal implies that their love is no longer with them, too. Could the journal be by A talking about Steve? This might be an answer for those wanting to reject an ethereal origin for this mod. However, this is leaving out an important detail from the obituary. Steve is survived only by his closest relatives, and not by any spouse. So either they had separated, or their partner had already passed away. You might be able to see where I'm going here. I think A might be Tom. His last name is Allard, A for Allard perhaps. If they were close, even as friends, it wouldn't be hard to see them having nicknames for one another. The obituaries further support this too. The fact that both of them married their old school crushes, and that they went to the same high school. The fact Thomas moved back to the same town to be with the person they married. Tom too is also not survived by a spouse, despite being married. And the fact they're both sharing a celebration of life and funeral service at the same place, date, and time. So, yeah, I think they're together. The obituaries don't mention how either died, merely that Stephen passed away and that Thomas died in his home. I've heard there's an entire lexicon of euphemisms that obituaries use to talk about the recently deceased, but I don't know if I'm privy to such things. Anything I could derive, further than I already have, would merely be a baseless assumption, from here or in the map. But you might wonder then what this whole mod was about. If at the end our big twist was our author too was dead, and this was a tribute made for romantic love rather than just friendship. Well, I'm sure I don't need to point out the signs of a potentially difficult childhood that appear throughout this map and its supplemental material. It's hard to know exactly who owns what here. However, I'd say some things feel particular to Stephen. For instance, there's the hospital. Thomas still has all of his close relatives together, but Stephen apparently lost his father sometime before his death. So, are we reliving his father's death here? No idea why he died, though I remember the pill bottle. Curious. His mother also has 3 different last names mentioned within the obituary, which might imply a difficult upbringing for the boy. The level itself is full of moments that could represent other events or memories, but I'd like to repeat one last bit from the journal instead. For a short time, you brought a little happiness to this painful existence called life. That's my read on things. A tribute to a difficult life which love briefly illuminated, made from beyond the grave by a grieving partner's cursed soul. You might disagree. It's intentionally vague, and I think its opaque and confusing nature is part of the point to illustrate trauma. So why not play it for yourself? Explore its many corners, read these documents, and see what conclusions you draw. Maybe the airport is Tom coming back home to Illinois. Maybe the frisbee is Stephen's love of frisbee golf. For me, though, it's interesting this all started with sharing a house on a floppy disk. When 2 people begin to share a house, when one moves in with another, what do each of them bring into it? If I had $1 for every time a horror game revealed itself to be a gay love story at the end, I'd have $2. And my local bakery still wouldn't accept them for a sausage roll. Some of you may be wondering about the account of Veg on Doomworld, and it may shock you to know that Veg is a real user. Real in the sense that this account has been open since 2004, then seemingly left in 2006, before coming back in September of 2022. Their posts and updates on Doomworld mirror what's said in the journal perfectly, with dates lining up and everything. Veg never dropped their character, even for a second. I can say character now, right? We all understand the healthy lines between fiction and reality, correct? There is actually a bit of, to use a technical term, hoo-ha in the forums about the identity of the author, or authors, where the clues have been left in places like anagrams or even in the thread itself. However, to be totally blunt, I don't care to chase up on such things. Either the creators come forward, or they don't. What matters to me is the time I had playing this. I did not expect one of my favourite gaming experiences of 2023 to be a Doom map. Playing through my house has been like I've had a spell cast on me, utterly entrancing me and convincing me to keep playing, keep digging into its secrets. I've spent hours in this little map of 10 minutes of playtime, and longer still just thinking about it. Not only the details of its narrative, but how genius its design is. A lot of this has already been discussed at length by people inside the Doomworld thread, which I highly recommend you read for yourself. Those people in there know Doom much better than I do. But I want to bounce off the pages and pages of discussion that's already there, and say how incredible it is that this feels like a full Doom horror map rather than just a horror mod that happens to run in Doom. All elements of its design are rooted in rules very familiar to fans of Doom 1 and 2. Solving mazes, running past lines which trigger new things in the map, such as opening new passageways, even the effect of running in circles around a map, collecting keys to open doors, or in this case, making the door appear once again. This is the language of Doom, and this mod takes it and twists the familiar words to be understandable but also terrifying. It is that uncanniness that stems from that familiarity that makes it work so well with the presentation of the entire game. One thing I haven't mentioned that's inside the Google Drive is the actual myhouse.wad, a much smaller map that, if you play, it's just the basic loop of the regular house. Or the first house, I suppose. No weirdness, and even beating underhalls takes you forward to the gantlet. Although there is actually one key difference. You're a different height. Actually, it'd be more accurate to say that in the PK3 version of the game, you're taller. The WAD doesn't change your height from the default. You might not notice it in the context of the house. You feel at a regular human height for these objects. Maybe the reason why this change was made. But you don't end at the house, do you? You're still a different height when you go through underhalls. Given how many times a Doom player may have gone through underhalls over the years, especially a community dedicated to Doom, that uncomfortable feeling of something not being right might be hard to shake and even harder to pin down. I didn't even know where else to mention this, but is it any coincidence that the game takes you into underhalls? An early Doom 2 level featuring a house. There's nothing off about it, but after going through all you saw in Expedition 1, can you really feel for sure that that is the case? Everything about this map works to get itself under the skin by being just a little bit off. That subtle change of the player height, the weapons animations swapping out, playing with the music that people expect to hear in these maps. Even the doors! How iconic is the Doom door opening sound? And this game even manages to flip that on its head. It takes the ultimate familiar and reliable space that is Doom and creates points of alienation to remove feelings of security when playing it. Playing a simple mod based on a player's house. Even if you've never played classic Doom before, I think this can have an effect on you. After all, you do one loop of the house before anything weird happens, and then your loops to grab keys become wider and stretch into the impossible. Then there's also the extraneous references in the game. Shrek, the backrooms, and the many inspirations from the liminal space online movement. Some of you may have rolled your eyes when you saw them, but what if I told you they were actually very smart? See, Doom has had maps and mods made for a very long time, and in a manner not dissimilar to how online communities in these horror spaces continue to make their own spins on the core elements of their chosen movement. Multiple online versions of the backrooms and liminal spaces exist, with all kinds of ways to experience them, from art to video to game. Shrek, existing in here, as crazy and pretentious as this will sound, draws a connection between these movements and Doom modding. He is a meme, he's everywhere, has been for an ungodly amount of time, and chances are if a new meme or online movement comes along, Shrek will be put inside it at some point. But Doom modders have been putting personal Easter eggs inside their maps for years. It's never been uncommon to see something out of place in someone's map, something that probably meant something to the map author. It's a small piece of personal expression, not unlike someone putting Shrek inside their horror work. It might sound like I'm stretching, but when you see Shrek, you know it's artificial. Your mind immediately knows that what you're playing is constructed, and you'll think of the author, something that this map is asking you to do constantly. Okay, I might be focusing a bit too much on this, but bear with me for this last point. What I like most about this connection is that it feels like a celebration of Doom modding. This year, Doom turns 30 years old, and 30 years on, this game is still getting community support, and the set rules of this game are still changing in radical ways people never thought of. but it's also adapting, changing with the times. Even amidst all the changes in gaming, technology, and even the wider cultural and political landscape, there has always been Doom modding happening alongside it. And while being influenced by what's happening around it, it's never been slowed or discarded or abandoned. Doom can adapt itself to these modern internet trends like putting on a new glove, and still make an impact when it does so. Doom can be anything, from the simplest shooter maps to strange new experiences that people haven't seen before. In the truest sense of the word, this map shows that Doom really is eternal. There's one more detail from the journal I'd like to close on. It's a flimsy observation, but bear with me anyway. In the text are 3 numbers highlighted in red. In order, they are 2, 3, 1. I don't see any connections between the journal entries they are attached to, and the number means nothing in the context of the map. So I googled Doom 231 and found a music track from OC Remix. OC Remix numbers its tracks sequentially, so the fact it's a Doom song specifically at number 231 feels like a pretty extraordinary coincidence. The song itself is a remix of Sign of Evil from Doom 1, and I can't help but think when listening to it that it may have been an inspiration for the creation of the whole map. Even if I'm wrong, and it wasn't that big an inspiration, it's a nice song anyway. Really makes me feel happy. Thank you for watching this long delayed video. I've been in not the best shape while working on this, and to be honest, playing through this map over and over again wasn't helping matters. Then I got sick on top of that, again, I know, which delayed things further. Production was pretty difficult anyway. I made some of the ambience for sections of this video by stretching some of Doom's songs and layering different versions together. It was a lot, but I had fun, and I'm glad it's now here for everyone. And an extra special thank you to all my patrons. Your support and your patience humbles me. So now, let's get into questions. What were your thoughts on House of Leaves? In particular, did you read it in any specific manner? I adore House of Leaves. It's not often I think about rereading a book that I've just finished reading. I personally read the entire main story first, and only read the appendices once I finished the Novitzin record, with the exception of the Pelican poems. For some reason I couldn't even tell you. I think this is why I'm curious to go back, as I took the words written at their face value, without any other context. But now I have read the appendices, I want to see how I now view the narrative as presented. Let me take this moment to give a heartfelt recommendation to read House of Leaves for anyone who's still watching. Despite its reputation, it's quite an approachable book, and you can get in the swing of its layout and style very naturally. Don't be put off by the look of it, or me talking about appendixes. It may have taken me 2 attempts to read through it, but that's only because I first tried reading it while travelling. And that's a bad idea for a book you need to flip and turn and read back and forth. Reading in the comfort of your own home is best. If my honeyed words aren't enough for you, there is an excellent video by Cloud Cuckoo Country on House of Leaves and ergodic literature as a whole, and he can give you a basically spoiler-free review and primer to read this book yourself. He also talks about other books like House of Leaves, which I actually have a couple of on order right now. I'll put a link to his video in the description below. One last thank you to you all, and I'll see you next time.